shot of soul.
This is Bass Talk Live. Your host, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrack. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lose, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Big Bite Baits, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Monday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, it is Monday, and we have a ton to talk about, man.
Yes, we do. Some scary stuff, some sad stuff going on in the bass fishing world. I guess we'll talk about that first thing off.
Yeah.
I'll just stick with what we actually know. I guess Aaron Martins had a seizure on his boat, was rushed to the hospital, and I guess there's all sorts of stuff online. A lot of the fishing community gathering together, but the one of the people from Duo International, David Swenstein, said kind of put out a release, I guess, on behalf of Aaron and Leslie. So I'll just read that. It said, doctors found 2 lesions. He is scheduled for brain surgery Monday the 6th to remove a tumor. Biopsy results will be available in approximately 1 week. This is a difficult time, as you all can imagine. Due to hospital protocol recently, Leslie, Aaron's wife, cannot be near her husband. Aaron is functioning well under the current circumstances. Leslie has specifically asked that we all pray for him and her family. Again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules, commenting and praying for the Martins family. It has been amazing. And then Carol Martins, Aaron's mom, who we all know has been around for decades. Well, since Aaron's been born, she's been around.
Okay.
Said Aaron will have brain surgery to remove a small tumor tomorrow. Pray for him, his family, his doctors. We're already seeing answers to our prayers. Please keep praying. In a week, they will know a lot more and what has been done for treatments, etc. He will hopefully come home Tuesday to recover. God bless each one of you. So that's the update on Aaron, and that's pretty much all anybody knows.
Yeah. So
not a good deal.
I know the fishing community, very tight. A lot of people out there, obviously, nothing but well wishes for Aaron and his family, and tough time for this to happen too.
Yeah,
really no time is a good time for this to happen, but just with everything taking place, just our thoughts are with the Martins family, and hopefully he will pull through this. Very, very, very scary time, but I know everybody out there in the bass fishing community, really in the fishing community, and Aaron was involved in so many other things besides just fishing that I know a lot of people out there are pulling for him, and hopefully he will pull through with very good news, hopefully later this afternoon.
Yeah, you can meet me or you or pretty much anyone else, and it's just, you don't really have a story about it. Yeah. Man, anybody who meets Aaron has an Aaron story. Yeah. You ever thought about that?
Oh, yeah.
You don't just, hi, Aaron, bye. There's always a story involved with Aaron as to what he talked about, what was going down, what happened, how nice he was, something like that. So,
So our thoughts are with him. Hopefully today will go very well. All right, good show today. We're going to have Jared LINTNER on live via Skype here in a few minutes. The dude has went through some stuff over the past week and a half, 2 weeks, just to try and get his boat, man. Yeah, I don't know if you know the story.
No, I don't. But I mean, I've been following him. They do a great job on his Instagram and social media, kind of following Team LINTNER and their journeys from home to travel on the road. But no, I don't know the story about the boat. So.
Yeah, so we'll get into that, talk a little bit about what's going on in the state of California, and get his take on so many things. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit of swim bait action also with him being a West Coast guy. When we were setting it up, he was actually showing us a couple of.
I think there's anyone on the West
very
Coast who
divine.
doesn't throw a swim bait. Like, is there anybody who's like, oh, that's the guy who's never swim bait fished? Who's a serious, serious tournament angler?
I don't
like
know.
Andy, like it was shocking
sure
that
there
Andy
are.
Montgomery had not ever caught a frog in tournament competition. Is there
Yeah.
someone from California who's like, yeah, I don't mess with him.
I'm sure there is.
Never messed with him.
Yeah.
Grew up finesse fishing and flipping and
Yeah.
frogging, and just said never got into the swim baits.
I'm sure there is. It's pricey. It's kind of expensive.
It is.
So we'll get into probably a little bit of swim bait talk with Jared Lintner. And then tomorrow, Matt will not be in studio. I'm actually going to have a co-host for the show. I don't know if anybody's going to be in studio, but Dean Rojas is going to be co-hosting the show with me tomorrow.
Very nice. Is he
Live
gonna
via
be
Skype.
propped up with his
I'm
mount
sure he
in the
will be.
background of the 5 for 45-2?
I'm sure he will be.
That's Dean's standard
Yeah.
video and photo op from the office there. With the
It's one of a kind, man.
5 replicas of
One of a
45
kind.
pounds.
Nobody else has it.
I'm either tomorrow I will not be in studio because I will either be doing something really cool or really stupid. Potentially both. Not to my health or anything like that, or putting anyone else, but
It's pretty cool.
I'm
folks.
trying to decide when do I want to afterwards.
Yeah. See how it goes, and then you can tease
You
it.
might be able to make a call during the show to see how it's going if I have service where I'm going.
Yeah, because where you're going to be, it's a little sketchy.
I'm putting my money where my mouth is, folks.
We'll get into it. After the fact.
Do you think it was a dumb idea?
No, I think it was brilliant. It was really, really good.
Do you think the counterpart in this equation of what is happening tomorrow is like, what the hell? Or do you think
No.
like,
Let's just say if the outcome goes a certain way, it will be epic. And that will go either way. Okay? If that makes any sense. Does that make any sense? Kind of stupid.
No, it totally makes sense. There is to what is happening tomorrow, there is an expected outcome, a predicted outcome. On this event tomorrow, if you had to handicap it, it would be a rather steep handicap. Like a steep.
I would put the odds at maybe 19-1.
19 to 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe 18 would be the line on it.
Okay. I don't know if I can argue with you or not.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's going to play out really good, folks. So Matt will not be here. And then on Wednesday, big show. We're going to have Bradley Hallman in studio, and we're going to talk about the Big Bite project that you and Bradley have been working on. And hopefully, I'm assuming we're going to have maybe something to show. Is that correct?
No, 100% we have something
Yeah.
to show. He's got the prototype baits for the Big Bite baits that he's been working on. He went down to Alabama. I've been sitting in the meetings with him. He's got a series of videos that are going to launch once we kind of start this process. And right now he is in the process of testing his bait that he designed with his elements that Big Bite milled a single mold off of and then poured a bunch and sent them to him. So whether there's a couple tweaks or adjustments, it also just it depends on. There's no timeline right now. There's really no timeline in the country right now, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But he's gonna come in and then and talk about the bait and actually have it in his hands and be able to show everybody what it is that he's been working on for the past couple months.
All right, very nice. And then on Thursday, the fans speak. We're going to have the Sunline Hotline show on Thursday. Cannot wait for that. One of my favorite things to do, hear from the fans. And Thursday, we will do that. And then on Friday, it will probably be a best of. Or if I get lined up with somebody based upon something that happens this week, I will do a solo show on Friday. And just like what I did with the Mark Daniels Jr. Interview, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. All right, man. I'm rocking the old school. Did you notice this?
The old BTL
do you know how
hoodie.
old this is?
Yes, I do.
How old?
That would be 8 years old.
Yeah, 2012.
Yep.
Yeah. I found it. I was doing some closet cleaning over the weekend and found it. And this was vintage stuff, man. This is back when gold was the dominant color.
Yes.
Gold and green. So it's a little big though, man. It's
fairly
massive.
You didn't really go with the quality or the thread count in the hoodie. It's kind of one of those cheaper hoodies that kind of gets a little poof. You know what I mean? Like you have those hoodies
Stretched
that
out.
kind of poof up on you when you wear them.
Yeah. By the way, Andy in Indiana, you are dead on. I'm not going to post that, but you're a very, very smart individual. All right, the other thing I did this weekend, I did something, Matthew, that you have never done in your life. I would put $100 on it. And it has nothing to do with fishing.
Oh, I could think of a lot. Make a sound financial decision.
No, but think about it. It's a domestic thing. All right? It's one of those things, folks, when you walked by an area of the kitchen and you just happen to look down at the floor and there's freaking water everywhere.
And fix the plumbing?
And you're like, holy crap, what is going on? So there's a rug in front of our sink that was just
sopping wet,
dirty, nasty, muddy. And I was like, oh, crap. And then you do the dreaded get down on your knees, open up the cabinet below the sink, and what do your eyes see?
Broken pipe, busted pipe?
Garbage disposal.
Oh, I've been through this.
So have you ever replaced a garbage disposal?
No, but I've beat on one with a hammer to try to get it to work again.
No, the seal busted. There was freaking water everywhere.
Really?
And there's no telling how long it's been doing it. It just, for some reason.
How long did that take? Did you have to go out in public?
Yeah.
To get things?
Yeah, but I wore a mask.
Did you?
I didn't wear a mask. I wore a duck fishing buff is what I wore.
I'm not sure how much good that does. Buff of any kind.
Do you think a buff helps?
I don't think it helps keep stuff out. It helps if you cough.
Yeah.
Have you not read any of this
Dude,
stuff?
I didn't go near anybody, though.
Okay.
I mean, I went...
Did you wear gloves?
No, but I washed my hands as soon as I got home. As soon as I touched anything, didn't touch the face. Anyway.
That's essential.
So the situation of watching me and my friend try to install this garbage disposal was epic. I wished I would have had your camera. Now, he is much more mechanically inclined than I am, but it was quite comical. But we got it done in about an hour.
There you go.
About an hour. And I had a decision to make. That decision is, do you go with what you have or do you upgrade to like the Gerber 9000 or whatever?
You could just like put a metal fork through and it never stops.
Well, I think his comment was you could put a broomstick down it and it would annihilate it. Oh, yeah. It was only $30 to upgrade.
I'm just saying, you just redid the whole kitchen.
Yeah.
At least you got that thing done before you had people traipsing in and out of the house 24/7.
But it's just you go into such a panic when you walk through your house and all of a sudden the freaking kitchen is flooded.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my big adventure. And then the other thing is, and how many people out there are experiencing this right now, Matthew? You're getting your tackle ready. You're doing some organization stuff. And suddenly you find something, you're like, holy crap, where has that been? I had no idea. I totally forgot that I had that right there. Have you not ran across that? Have you been tinkering at all? Have you been organizing?
Here's the thing.
Have you been doing anything?
Yeah, here's the thing. So, you know that I don't have like my own shop, right? I have like a storage unit and keep stuff in the garage and stuff like that, but I don't have a shop where I can like store stuff. So, and I've moved a couple times over the past 3 years.
Yeah.
So I have really gone through every piece of tackle that I have. And so, have I used this? Will I use this? Why did I have this? So a lot of it I've sold. I've given away, $50 for this tub of plastics that I haven't even been in 2 years.
A bulk bargain.
Yes. Yeah. Or, here's a box of crankbaits that I got for $1.50 a piece.
Yeah.
But I'm not ever going to throw them. I just got them because I could. Like, I feel like there's a lot of people who have stuff that they just got because they could.
Yeah. Part of the Holy Grail, what I found, any idea?
Yep, 3-hook spook.
No? No, because I know where those are.
Vixens.
No? You're close. You're not close, but it's in that category.
Bubble wrapped Excaliburs.
No. You had an obsession with these things for a while.
I had an obsession with them.
Yeah.
A buzzbait?
No?
Well, who makes it?
The original is no longer in business. How about that?
A Rogues?
No.
The original is no longer in business.
They were acquired by a very, very, very large company.
3/4 ounce War Eagles?
No.
Sabiles?
No. I am shocked you are not getting this. Dude, you were obsessed with this for a while. Wiggleworts. Original Wiggleworts.
How many did you find?
4 of them.
Oh, in the package?
In the package.
Ghost colors?
2 ghost green, 2 fire tiger.
You just found in a bull market, speaking money terms, you just found about $260, $270.
Yeah.
In a current market, I think you maybe could get for all 4. $150.
Yeah, not interested. Hanging on to them, dude. And I will never forget, folks, in case you didn't realize this, the original Storm Lures was actually located about 30 minutes from here.
Mm-hmm. It says it on the back of the...
Yeah, about 30 minutes from here. And the guy, his name was John Storm, him and his brother. Mm-hmm. But I got to be pretty good friends with John. And I can remember, this is 30 years ago, walking through that it wasn't a factory. It was more like a warehouse because the stuff was made in Mexico and all over the place. Thousands and thousands and thousands of Wiggleworts and thunder sticks. Did you ever use a thunder stick?
Yeah, I could never get one that would actually thunder. It would be like a rolling stick.
But just going through that place and not realizing what was in front of me. Now, when you look back 30 years from now.
That's why they're valuable, because no one realized. All right, 2 things with the Wigglewort, and then we'll get to our guest, Jared Lintner. He's like probably not very into the Wiggleworts, because I don't know if the Ozark Wigglewort really worked. Does it work out there in California?
Shasta. He's shaking his head. Maybe Shasta. I don't know. We'll ask.
All right, so 2 things. One, I think a big money-making venture would be a reality show called Wart Hunter. I don't know if I've talked about this on the show. I've had this idea for 2 or 3 years. My buddy Jared Miller, big into scuba diving and stuff.
Yeah.
You go to Bull Shoals, Table Rock, Lake of the Ozarks, Grand, all these lakes. Once the water gets a little bit warmer, after the spring season, when you've had these big tournaments.
Yeah.
And when the guys are throwing their money baits, their original Wiggleworts. And he goes down in scuba gear on 45-degree chunk rock banks with standing timber and hunts for broken off Wiggleworts.
The Wart Hunter.
Now, think about that.
Yeah.
You get a 300 boat tournament early in the year, but you're going to have warts if you're going for 40 to $100 a pop and you find 5 or 6 a day. Yeah, it's worth your while.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch. I mean, I've snagged Wiggleworts, like, been cranking and caught them and come in and be like, holy cow, it's a Wigglewort. Right?
Yeah.
So, there's got to be hundreds down there.
I'm sure there are.
So here's the second thing. Since our co-host for tomorrow's BTL is Dean Rojas, I have one Phantom green craw Wigglewort in my collection with the little orange tip. It says Wigglewort under the bill. It's the holy grail of Wiggleworts. I've thrown it twice. I've had it for 3 or 4 years. Do you care to guess on how I acquired it? It did not. I acquired it for $21, but it was in other goods. So here's the deal.
It was a wager.
No, it was not a wager.
Really?
It was doing bitch work. So I'm sorry that comes across bad.
What did you have to do?
So we're in Florida for Elite Series tournament.
How many years ago is this?
5.
Okay.
5 or 6. I mean, I was still doing the grind it out on every single tournament, cover, shoot photos.
Yeah.
And I just get into this Wigglewort thing, and Rojas would room with Rojas on all the Elite Series tournaments. And Rojas has a very nice collection of Wiggleworts. Not outlandish, but
just good. Decent.
He's got a really good collection.
All right.
And he always would be like, just let me look at him. Wouldn't let me touch him. Not for sale, nothing. So we're staying at this house in Florida. He makes a cut. The other people leave. One of his buddies flies in from Arizona or Florida or something. So they're having a good time. And they're having a few drinks.
Yeah.
And they run out of beer and ice. Well, his buddy's drinking Coors Light. So he needs more beer. And Dean can't have a Jack and Coke without ice in it. It's just not American.
This is true.
So they need these things.
Yeah.
Neither of them feel like it's wise to drive. But I'm stone cold sober. Because Dean's done with the tournament that night. I'd been working on stuff. I still have to cover the last day.
Yeah.
So Dean just says, Panger, go get us some more beer and ice. And I said, I'm not your servant. Like, I got no problem, like, cooking dinner, but you can't just, like, demand that I go get things for you. Like, I'm a person with feelings too, Dean.
It's like that Bugs Bunny cartoon that I happened to watch this weekend with the Hassenpfeffer.
So it had been earlier that week. He'd been bragging about his Wigglewort collection. I said, how bad do you want this? He's like, I'll pay for it. Just go get us the ice. It's like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Get us the ice and a case of beer. And I said, I'll get it. I said, I'll even pay for it. He said, you're a guy. Great. And I said, but I get one of those Phantom Green Wiggleworts out of your box. And the mood changed.
Yeah. Drastically.
The mood changed drastically. But he had his buddy there.
Yeah.
His buddy wanted a couple more beers, and Dean really wanted ice.
Pressure.
He caved.
Yeah.
He caved.
That's
I went, got it, bought a bag of ice, got the case of beer, came back, said, let's go to the back. He was hoping I'd forget. Went to the back of the truck. I said, I picked one out, and he goes, oh, no, here's a new one. I said, I don't want a new one, Dean. I said, I want this one with the little horseshoe above the top because I know that's a gamer. Oh, you can't have that one. I said, that wasn't part of the stipulation.
Yeah.
So I've got a Hunter in the ghost green.
Nice.
And I had to go get a case of beer and a bag of ice.
I'll remind him about that tomorrow. By the way, I did watch that Bugs Bunny cartoon this weekend. Been watching some crazy stuff. Yeah, it was the line, the cook, where's my Hassenpfeffer?
That's exactly what Dean said. Fetch me beer and ice, media kid.
All right, it is a Monday, folks. We're going to take a break and come back with Jared Lintner. Everybody stay tuned.
For the best combination of value and performance is over. It ends with Elite TI2. From high-res views of active imaging to mapping in real time with Genesis Live, the high-powered performance of Elite TI2 continues to dominate. And now, wirelessly share sonar waypoints and routes between TI2 displays. Get up to $200 cash back when you purchase a Lowrance Elite TI2 or Hook Reveal display. Visit Lowrance.com/offers for details.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Luz doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it the sexy shad color?
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duck It Fishing, pro-driven.
I want to share to you a new product we got coming out from Sunline. This is the FC leader size spools that we have now. We've gotten a lot of requests for this. A lot of you guys use fluorocarbon for leaders only, myself included. And one of the problems you have is when you have a 200-yard spool, that might last you 2, 3, 4 years. You might even lose it before you even get done with the spool. So we've gone to a little smaller spool. These are 50-yard spool sizes. You know, that way you're not holding your line on forever. You can keep your line fresh, use it when you can, stores real easily in the boat. We got all of our popular line sizes that you're used to with our Sniper from 5 to 14 pound. If you guys are looking for a line that you're only tying for a leader, go check out Sunline FC Leader 100% fluorocarbon and give it a try.
All right, we are back on a Monday. Mark and Matt in studio. Tomorrow, my special host will be Dean Rojas.
I don't know if I want to talk about that story.
Mine. I'll bring it up.
Okay.
I will bring it up. But it is what?
You think Lintner's ever traded baits for beer?
I don't know.
I mean, he does hang out with Nick Salvucci. That is his old team partner. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Nick has put Lintner in a compromising position a time or two.
Yeah. All right, let's bring him in. Jared, you there, man?
Yeah, man. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Greatly appreciated. I know there's a 2-hour time difference, so it's a little early out there, but you're used to it, aren't you?
Used to be. Now it seems like we stay up till about 1 watching Netflix and all kinds of stuff, and we get up about 10 or 11 or 12.
Yeah. Sleeping in a little bit. All right. Right off the top, man, we got to know, since we got into the discussion, wiggle warts. Are those factors out on the West Coast?
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. You know, it's funny. A funny story about that. Years ago, is actually when I met McClellan. So it's been a long time ago. He had this little crankbait. You know, he's like, "Yeah, this is a deal." You know, and I fished. I think I fished with Justin actually on Beaver or somewhere, and he smoked me on this little crankbait, and I'm like, "Man, I want to try one of those back home." So I kind of gathered some up, and I mean, at the time, it wasn't a big deal, right? And there were several guys that I'd fished against my whole, you know, fishing career out here, just fun fishing, club tournaments that I knew had these baits. So I went around and bought them for, like, you know, I traded them a swim bait for 5 wiggle warts because I didn't know and they didn't know. I mean, you know, it was just everybody had them and nobody threw them. And the first tournament we threw them in, we won by, me and Nick actually, we won by 9 pounds. And ever since then, man, I mean, everywhere I go, I throw them. I mean, all over my local lakes here. I mean, they eat them. So I got quite the collection going. So
how about Shasta? Shasta, maybe?
Shasta, they eat them. I mean, yeah, you know, spotted bass. Yeah, I caught a lot of fish on them up there, but big largemouth eat them too. I was going to say, Panger, if you ever room with me, maybe we could work out a trade. So, hey, but I do have, since we're at the beginning of the show, and I'm going to ask Matt for help with this. So AFCO, the awesome folks there at AFCO said, hey, we know you're going to be on BTL. We're going to give away a $100 gift card to the best question of the day. So it doesn't have to be, you know, anything to do with fishing. It could be with California stuff, could be whatever. But the best question, we're going to hook them up with a $100 AFCO gift card.
Very nice.
That's a
could
first.
Could be about Sunline, could be about tackle, whatever. I don't know. Between Matt and I, we'll figure it out because Matt kind of has a filter. Jeffries, I don't know about you.
Well, we'll do that. So if you're on the instant feedback, then the best question that it is, and you email mark@basson.com at the end with your info.
Well, that's after you select.
Yeah, after it's selected,
Yeah.
and then
I'll get it to him.
Man, we're used to guys coming on trying to get people to buy stuff, not just coming on giving stuff away right out of the gates. So what?
Hey, but that's like kind of the AFCO's whole premise, with their, they give back 10% of their profit to conservation and all that. I mean, that's just the kind of folks that you deal with, is they're wanting to give back to the anglers and give back to the resources. So really, really cool stuff.
Plus, I mean, Linter also makes him look like a badass in all this stuff that they shoot with him. Like, have you seen that? Like the kind of like stuff with like the hood where he's got like, and then it's like, roo, and it goes like, roo, like through him and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Did Johnny Z shoot all that stuff?
Johnny Z did do that, and let me tell you a story about that. So that was up at Clear Lake, and it was cold, and we had the tackle warehouse crew there, and of course Johnny, I don't know how well you guys know him, but that was the first kind of deal I did with Johnny, and he's kind of different. Like, I mean,
West Coast free spirit.
Yeah, man, he takes his job very serious, though. I mean, he'll get up at 2 hours before anybody else and get the camera set up just right, and he's like, "Linter, get out of here." I'm drinking my coffee. He's like, "Dude, the fog and the light is just perfect." I'm like, "Shut up, dude. You're killing me right now." He's like, "No, trust me. Get out here, do this." And I'm like, so I was kind of like grumpy. I go out there. I'm like, "Dude, that's pretty sweet right there." I mean, it was legit. I'll give him all the props. On that trip, he started calling me dad. And I'm like, "What is that all about?" He's like, "Because you're always telling me what to do and to shut up and to go over there and be quiet and do this." And I'm like, "All right." So he still calls me dad. Which I don't know if I like that.
Wow. All right, here's what we're going to do then. We're going to talk to you for a little bit, and then we'll take a break. And then, folks, we will come back after the break and get to all the instant feedback questions.
If you are watching this live on YouTube right now, to ask a question to Jared in the second half, you need to go to basszone.com. And when you go to basszone.com, you'll see the BTL link right there. It'll say watch live, and you click on that. The instant feedback will pop up on the right-hand side, and that's how you answer a question. So for all those people who are watching on YouTube, not through the BTL website platform, to have a chance to win a $100 AFCO gift card courtesy of Mr. Jared Lintner.
Yeah.
Go to the Bass Talk Live website.
All right, there you have it. All right, man, I want to kick things off real quick. Dude, you have been through an adventure just to get your bass boat and truck.
It's always
crazy.
Yeah.
All right, tell everybody what you've had to go through just to set things up to where you can actually be functional with your truck and boat back in California.
Well, I mean, nobody foreseen this whole deal happening, and so finished up at Fork, had a good tournament, and Carrie actually surprised me. She flew out, and then this whole thing kind of was hitting, the media, and we're like, I had no idea what was going on. I'm in a little rental in Quitman, Texas, and life is normal and everything's good. And she shows up with her phone and all of her media stuff, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, look at this. And so we sat there after the last day of competition, and we had a flight out of Dallas. And I'm like, it can't be that bad. And I talked to some friends and some other people, and I'm like, should I bring my boat home or should I just get on the plane? And kind of the consensus was we're going to fish, and I didn't know the severity of it. Nobody really knew. And so we flew home. There was going into Dallas, I think our flight was at 5:30, drove right into Dallas, went straight to TSA, got on a plane. I mean, there was nobody in the airport out of DFW, flew home. And then, I was here for 3 days. I'm like, I got to get my boat in my truck. I mean, I was just bored to death. I'm like, no, and we didn't know what was going on. And then, obviously the North Carolina event got postponed or canceled. And I was like, I got to get my boat. Well, I kind of didn't want to get on a plane, and I didn't know what to do. So finally I go, that's it. Carrie, give me a car rental, because I didn't want to get on a plane. So I picked up a car rental on Monday morning, 9:30 or 10. And sanitized the whole thing. Carrie was there. She had all her antibacterial wipes and gloves, and I had a care package that she made me with hand sanitizer and all this stuff. made sure that little area was secure and no germs or anything. Started driving, hooked up with Roy Hawk, and he's like, dude, my truck and boat's right over there too. Can you stop by and pick me up? And I'm like, well, how are you safe? Yeah, everything's good, you know. So I go to his house, which is like 15 miles out of the way. And he's like, dude, let's just crash tonight, you know, stay the night here. I'm like, okay. He's like, I said, well, if we're going to do that, take me on Havasu. So I go out bass fishing for like hour and a half on Havasu. We had like 12 or 13 bites. I had him on a frog, and he had some on a spinnerbait. And jumped in the truck. We got up at 5. We drove from Lake Havasu, where Dean's at actually, and Roy, all the way to Emory, Texas. We stayed at the Yamamoto Lodge there through a buddy of his. Got up the next morning, returned the car rental. Roy took his truck and boat, and he was going to fish a tournament at Roosevelt, but that got canceled or whatever. He went down the 10 or the 20 to the 10. I went across the 40, and I drove from wherever, Emory, Texas or whatever, all the way home. And yeah, so I left Monday morning at like 10, and I got here at Thursday night at 9.
Wow.
So, and then we were fishing on Saturday. Me and Carrie and Jaden and JC, my son that I had to rush to Boise State to pick up. That was a whole different story. He was still sleeping. He's on a new schedule. He gets up between 4 to 7 p.m. Every day. So vampire.
Wow. So
that's pretty much what we're doing now. So at least 2 of our lakes, my little lakes here, I call them mine, but it's where I grew up fishing. They're still open on a day-to-day basis. So we got some rain yesterday, today, tomorrow. So should be getting really, really good. So that's what I plan on doing some videos, some Facebook Lives, some different things, and hopefully continuing to fish.
All right.
It's a heck of a story.
Quite the quest.
Yeah. How long was the drive? Like 30 hours?
I mean, by the time you stop and gas, oh yeah, that was another thing. So you get out of that gas station, put on my rubber gloves, you know, I'm looking around and kind of everybody's doing the same thing, rubber gloves and face mask and sanitizer everywhere. And it's kind of a funny deal. I mean, it's not funny like fall over laughing, but when you watch people like going into, say, a Love's truck stop, they're like using their toes to open doors and nobody's touching it. It's kind of like, how bad is this going to get? And there's a bunch of people that I'll watch, you know, when I'm pumping gas, and they'll just sit there and wait for somebody to open the door, and then they'll rush, like, so they don't have to touch anything. I'm like, wow, this is a whole different world we live in, man.
Hey, I'm curious, how much is gas in California now?
Right here where I live, it's like $3.29, which is pretty good actually. But when I went through Decatur, Texas, on the Ford to get to the 40. And I seen it as low as $1.19.
Yeah, I saw it. This past weekend for $1.09 in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty. I mean, unfortunately, you can't use enough gas to take advantage of that, though.
Yeah.
Because you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I managed to do that on the lake this past weekend, not catching any. I burned 40 gallons at the old $1.19 a gallon.
Wow. Dang.
You didn't catch them, Matthew?
Yeah.
I caught 8 in 8 different spots. Thus
was that
run and gun pattern.
Was that a grand again?
Yep.
Wow.
Just out there fun fishing.
Yeah. All right. Jared, I'm curious, obviously, with the break and everything, you've got your stuff back now. Is there anything that you're going to work on from a fishing perspective on the water that you feel like, you know, I really need to get tuned up, dialed in on this technique, you know, during this time of the year, because you guys are fishing so much normally during a regular schedule. Does any of that exist?
I mean, this is my favorite time of year to fish. Obviously, many other people. But the areas where I'm kind of lacking, and I think we've talked about this over the years, is when they get post-spawn offshore on ledges, that deep crankbait deal, things like that. I'm not saying I'm an expert this time of year. Obviously, there's things I need to work at. I've always been one to be more, a power type fisherman, throwing bigger stuff, bigger swim baits, bigger line. And so, growing up and fishing around here, finessing this time of year was like 10, 12 pound test. So I'm gonna kind of toy around with, like 6, 7 pound line and smaller little baits, and I know they catch a lot of big ones doing that. I caught several nice fish at Fork throwing 8 pound test, which was, kind of different for me. And the only reason I did that was because I fished Group B and Saturday, and at one point, my starting area, this one creek, my boat official was like, there's 23 other boats in here. And I'm like, what? And so I was like, man, so during the first break, I sat down and you could tell too, these fish, they would kind of be real standoffish. And I was like, man, I got to do something different, because everybody and their brother is, obviously fishing the stumps, the laydowns, throwing it at anything on the bank. And it saved me. I mean, I rigged up some 8 pound sunline, and it was some interesting, I'm not used to kind of catching those big ones on a spinning rod with light line, but it worked out.
Braid to fluoro?
Yeah, braid to fluoro, FG knot, I mean, it's, I say that, I mean, some of the biggest, fish that I've caught on beds here at Clear Lake and even a couple of my little home lakes, I've caught on light line, but that's knowing, what's around there, and really there's no other option, because I've exhausted all the other options. I mean, a lot of times, I'm talking, we're throwing like torrid tubes like that big, like 8-10 inch tube. Another thing we do a lot is throw, like, I say a lot of guys here in California, Northern California, even in Southern California. I mean, some of these bedfish, you'll throw, a big giant Huddleston, big swim baits, get them fired up. So, it's one extreme to the next. 1 minute you're throwing 25 pound shooter, the next minute you're throwing 6 pound FC sniper. It's like, you kind of got to be, versatile, but my mentality is, even if it takes me 5 extra minutes to catch that fish, I'm going to catch it on a bigger bait, bigger line.
Once you spool up your spinning reels with the braid, does that braid stay on the entire year then? Like, how often do you change that? Because I just realized I had a reel that had braid on there for 2 years. I'm going on the 3rd year with it right now, and I haven't broken it. So what's your philosophy on that?
Yeah, no, that's what I do. Beginning of every season, I'll get out there in my garage and I'll spool up the reels, I usually do like 2 with 10, 2 with 12, and 2 with 16. So I carry 6, and I'll, fill them up, and then whatever liters, and they're good to go the rest of the year. I spray it with that, what is that stuff? Braid Magic or something, Real Magic. Mm-hmm. Spray it down with that so it casts good, comes off the spool good, and I've never had any issues. I mean, that's kind of my regiment. Every year, do that. Saves a lot of money, obviously, and just tie a good leader, and you're good to go.
Very nice. Do we still have the jersey down in the corner there? Is that?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
All right, here, we're going to show you this. I totally forgot about this. Do you remember that? Can you see it, Jared?
That was the classic.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a long time. What classic was that?
This is the
Hartwell?
Jared Lintner. It's a Skeeter jersey. And one of the prominent, right under the Skeeter. How much did Jeffries pay you for that, Lintner?
He didn't even give me a wiggle word. He gave me one of the replicas.
Look at the size. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were.
Hold it up.
I'm trying to hold it up. Izzy's been sleeping on it, I think.
Yeah.
There it is, right there.
Yeah.
Do you have this camera angle here? Or is that not queued up?
Yeah.
Here, hold on.
Hang on.
Show this.
Yeah, he gave me, I think, one of the new production wiggle awards, not even an old school one.
There it is right there.
Yeah.
That's back in the monogram days, man.
That's a giant logo. Why would you? Let's talk business for a second. Why? You got to change the camera angle back now. It's just you could just see the picture of
all right, there we go.
Jeff Creed's jumping fish in the background. Why would you agree to put? I mean, literally, it is as big as the Skeeter. It is as big as the Yamaha. The tiny logos. You have Tackle Warehouse as a tiny logo. Berkeley, True Tuxedo, Yamaha, Abu, Jackal, Robo, Worm, and Powell are all just surrounded this massive BassZone.com
Now,
logo.
hang on a minute. I paid for the jerseys.
Oh, God, get out of here, Mark.
I did.
So what? You just out of the goodness of your heart, you wanted to just take care of Jeffries?
I don't know what I was thinking at the time. I really honestly don't.
Was it your first classic? I think it was your first classic.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
And Jeffries was just like, "Hey man, like I know we're cool. Would you mind using my did you look like did he look like he could possibly be lucrative in the future? Were you like,
we became pretty good friends.
Well, I'd be friends with him if he wore a logo that big for nothing too.
Yeah. People have taken advantage of me over the years.
You should feel ashamed.
Hey, when we go to break, you should look up what year that classic was, real quick.
What classic was it?
I think, let's see, 2007? If that was my first one, because the first year of the Elites was 2006.
7 would have been Lay Lake.
Yep, that was it. Lay Lake.
Yeah, 13 years ago.
Wait, so you got Brad to run a Bass-Zone wrapped boat, and all you did was pay for the wrap, and you got Lintner to be the title sponsor on his jersey, and all you did was pay for the jersey.
Dude,
hey, we're not that smart people, man. I mean, we're really not.
That is vintage Jeffries.
Yep.
Hey, it was a badass
he got
jersey.
Me with the whole, we're alike because we basketball and all this other stuff.
Yeah. But here's the real kicker. You said he said, "Oh well, I pay." He has the jersey. You don't even have the jersey anymore.
There were two of them. No, there were three of them.
I think actually I kept one, but he actually charged me for it. He made me Venmo.
Made you?
That's not true. That is not true. Jeez. No, that's one of my vintage collectible items that I greatly appreciate.
He traded you a couple spools of Berkeley Vanish for it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, man, I really thought he was going to do well, and we had a really good still have a really good friendship, but that's how that whole thing went down. Dude, man, I had no money then. I was broke. I was out there trying to do something that nobody was doing. You weren't even around then.
I knew you in 2007. That was the year we met.
For the Classic? You weren't there.
I did not know you at the Classic. I met you in the fall. Yeah, the fall semester. I started interning for you the fall semester in 2007.
Yeah. So it's all good, man. That's good memories. Long time ago, though. Very, very long time ago. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break, Jared, and then we're going to come back and get to the questions on the instant feedback. So everybody hold tight. We're back on a Monday.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Blue Water by TH Marine. Offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that Spro has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a Spro bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done. While I travel the country on the Bassmaster Elite Series, I simply can't let the weather be the reason I don't win $100,000. That's why I use AFCO clothing to keep me warm, dry, and protected from whatever Mother Nature wants to throw at me. My season depends on it. My career depends on it. AFCO, any fish, any water.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
The Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swim-On is a very unique bait, and it's got a full body but with ribs to give it a bigger profile but not more plastic. It's got a jointed tail that gives it a lot of action, as well as this up and down crawl type trail with holes and ribs in it, so it creates a bubble trail almost. This bait is supposed to be fished upside down or vertical like this on a great for a chatterbait. I prefer it on a swim jig as well, but you can also cut it down and put it on the back of a finesse jig. You know, flip it around for some spotted bass or flipping docks. Anytime you want a small, compact, little trailer for it, this is great for it. So check out the full lineup of swim-ons at bigbitebaits.com.
All right, we are back on a Monday, kicking the week off with Jared Lintner,
who is giving things away in the second half of the show. A $100 AFCO gift card out of the kindness of his heart and the good folks at AFCO. So like I said, once again, if you are watching this on YouTube, sorry if I'm repeating this for the iTunes listeners, bear with me for 20 seconds. If you're watching this on YouTube and you want to ask a question to have a chance to deem, Jared Lintner deems that it was the best question of the day,
yeah,
you get it. Chris Aldane did this, gave away some baits before.
Yeah.
Go over to basszone.com and then click on the live link there for BTL, and that's where you can ask a question in the instant feedback that then appears over in producer Mark Jeffrey's computer screen.
All right, here we go. Josh in Missouri wants to know, what's your best bait trade story? Do you have one?
Best bait trade? I mean, I've had a lot of them, especially during tournaments, back in the team fishing days, you'd be at Clear Lake or something like that. And I've made some stupid ones, like I've given away $80 to $120 swim bait for spinnerbait trailers. I mean, stupid things.
Wait,
stupid things.
Seriously?
Wow.
Yeah.
You needed you were in a tournament and you needed spinnerbait trailers, and it was...
Well, that's an example. I remember one time specifically, I was at Clear Lake. It was a championship. I think it was Nick and I, it might have been Tim and I. We were in like third, and we didn't have, we were throwing black lizards on the back of a buzzbait, right? Didn't have any more. Went to the store, they didn't have any. So rather than being, thinking about it and just dyeing some or using a Marks-a-Lot and taking a green pumpkin lizard, which we had thousands of them, and coloring the lizard, I traded a Huddleston swim bait for a pack of Zoom 6-inch black lizards.
Do we know this person you made the trade with?
He was staying, so we used to rent this one house, and he was kind of camping in the front of this house. The guy was really cool. All of us kind of stayed in this general area, and I kind of just went around boat to boat, and I'm like, hey, you got these? You got these? This one guy's like, yeah, I got a whole pack. So he's like, well, it's going to cost you. And I'm like, dude, I'll give you $10. And he's like, no, I want that. I want a swim bait. And so he came over and picked one out.
All right, I'm just making sure it wasn't anyone we could call, like, to give. Yeah, we're making sure it wasn't like Skeet Reese or Kent Brown or Fred Kantawi or any of those guys out there.
No, actually, Frank was actually there that time. He was there. John was this guy's name. But Skeet wouldn't trade you anything for anything, so it doesn't matter.
Since we're not on a time limit, I'm going to go down that path that everyone who's listening. Black lizard on the back of a buzzbait?
Yeah, I shouldn't have probably said that.
Well, you said it.
But actually, an 8-inch black lizard on a black buzzbait is my favorite trailer of all time.
You cut the head off, or?
Sometimes.
That's it, Matt. He's cutting you off. No more.
Well, sometimes you got to go down the path to see if you could find the path, how far the path goes. Apparently, this one's choked out with weeds right at the mouth of the path. And we'll go on to question number 2.
Yes, it is. All right. Yeah. Let's see here. Derek in Ohio wants to know, when do you use a rattle in your plastics?
I mean, well, when I'm bed fishing, I do a lot of times. I'm visibly trying to catch one off a bed, but I would say, almost 90% of the time when the water's dirty, stained water, or like, when our lakes are full, like Clear Lake and even some of my home lakes, you'll get these, we call them toolies. I think they call them buggy whips or reeds, wherever back east. You'll get they'll get flooded where, there's so much water in them, and I'll put a rattle in plastics and even on jigs, just to draw fish in. You'll flip out there, and I feel like it brings fish to you. And so not only in stained or real dirty water, but in those situations where there's so much cover, so much brush or toolies or whatever, I've seen them. You'll be shaking that jig or the big tube or something, and with a rattle in it, and you'll see like the toolies moving, coming towards where you're shaking that bait, and you get bit.
So that black lizard on the back of a buzzbait, is that primarily during the spawn season or later in the year?
Yes.
Give up, Matt. He's done.
Okay.
He's done. Okay? You're done. Cut it off. Done.
Right.
Finished. Let's move on. I'll
send you a special picture after this is all done.
All right. He's throwing you a bone there.
Well, you might need it for your challenge tomorrow.
Oh.
Because it also works good on a spinnerbait.
Oh.
Oh, the spinning lizard. I saw an infomercial for that once.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Anyway, Matt in Minnesota wants to know, what's more important, line, lure, and rod setup, or once you get all that done, your boat position and retrieve and angle? Why?
Jeez. Well, I mean, it's kind of a loaded question, because without the first line, lure, rod setup, you could have the right angle, but if don't have all the right equipment, you're not going to present anything to them right.
Yeah.
So, man, that's a tough one, man. I know certain times of the year, probably more often than we think about it, the angle of how you present a bait is far more important than the bait you are throwing. And I do know that. Even like with bed fishing, this time of year, fish are spawning. I've seen it so many times where, if you're presenting that bait and the fish isn't really down with it and you're working it. A lot of times you change the angle of the way, the direction you're presenting that bait to them, and you get bit. And it's that way with dock fishing. I've seen that 1,000 times. Skeet Reese gave me a really good lesson one time. We were in a big tournament, and the way he was fishing docks as opposed to the way everybody else was fishing the docks, there's no wonder, he was getting bit more than anybody else. And I kind of took that like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I've applied that to my home lakes and the lakes throughout the country where as a human, you want to take the path of least resistance, meaning you want to do it the easiest way, the quickest way. And a lot of times to get that different angle, whether it's on, like I said, a dock, a lay down, a stump, sometimes getting that different angle is going to give you results you would have never believed.
All right, there you have it. Our good friend Big Polly in Long Island, New York wants to know, any idea whether or not AFCO is involved in making surgical masks or gowns with everything that's taken place? Do you know anything about that, Jared?
I do not. I know they make, like the sun mask that, everybody's kind of looking for right now. They make those, the sun mask, I guess is what you call them. I haven't heard about gowns or anything like that. I'm sure they probably talked about it. I don't know what they plan on doing or if they plan on doing anything. I don't know. But the world we live in, like, I guess everybody's kind of been talking about it with this, the sun mask and deal like that. Like, is that preventative? And I agree. Matt said something earlier. It's probably not going to prevent you from getting it, but as far as like if you go to a grocery store with a sun mask on and you have the virus, I don't think it can go through that mask.
Right.
So, I just try not to go out of the house.
It can't hurt.
Yeah.
It can't hurt.
No, none of us know exactly how effective it is or isn't.
Yeah.
But
not even the experts do.
It can't
hurt at this point.
All right, let's see here. Josh in Missouri wants to know, do you feel that the pros are being forced into a digital media aspect rather than the way that it was done old school?
Meaning like today?
Yeah, from a content standpoint, from a sponsor support standpoint.
Well, I mean, it's just the world we live in, right? Yeah, and I would say, shoot, as early or as late as 6-7 years ago, I didn't even know what Instagram was. I mean, all this stuff is kind of new, and it's really new to me. And I'll be honest, without my wife doing all my social media channels, I probably would be so far behind the curve. I wouldn't even be playing in the same ballpark. And I think it's a good thing because you can get information out there so quick, pertaining to your sponsors, whatever, your fish catches, posting about ways to catch fish or what's going on. I mean, it's instant. Whereas before, like he was saying, you had to wait for the magazine to come out to go, oh man, yeah, that's cool. And it's a month behind what you were just talking about. Now you can go out to the lake and do a Facebook Live and go, okay, this is what I'm talking about. When I'm throwing, a wiggle wart or whatever, this is my setup. This is what I'm doing. And I don't know that forced is the right word. But it's just the world we live in. I mean, you can't fight kind of, technology. And if you're not on the leading edge of that, and you want to go old school, I call it old school, you don't want to participate in that, well, sponsors are looking for that kind of interaction. I mean, it's just, so I guess, I don't know, the force is the right word, but yes, you have to be really, stay with the times. And like Carrie, she was like, yeah, I set up your Twitter account. This is like a year ago. And I'm like, Twitter? I had no idea what even. I don't even know what a twit.
I still don't. I've never gotten on the Twitter bus.
But I mean, that's what you get. Some of these sponsors, and rightfully so. I'm not bagging. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But they're like, how many tweets did you have? It's like, what? And Harry's, oh, here, I got this. No,
I think the next one is TikTok.
It's just the world we live in.
I don't know anything about it yet. I think the next one coming down the line is TikTok.
TikTok, yeah. So my son, my boys are now that everybody's been confined to the house. Yes, this TikTok thing is we're learning about that.
Yeah.
So our 12-year-old is going to help Carrie set up this TikTok deal.
You if you're a fisherman, here's a hot tip. I'm going to give a tip to professional fishermen. If you want to know what like the next trend in social media and stuff is going to be, go to Scott Martin's channel, and whenever he mentions apps that you've never heard of, that's the one that's coming down the pipeline. I'm serious.
Yeah.
That's how you get on the leading edge. I mean, he's got guys that he works on it. I mean, in the fishing world, like that he's doing apps and stuff that I ain't heard of yet.
Yep.
And they're probably the next big thing.
Exactly right. You're exactly right.
All right, let's keep going here. Jim in Indiana wants to know, have you ever used your size and demeanor to intimidate anybody on your starting spot?
That gets an asterisk next to it on the question just while we're doing this for the giveaway. I don't know if that's the winner, but that's in a strong contender right now. Would you not agree?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I wouldn't say that I had, well, I will say this. There's been times where I pull up and I'll have a certain glare about me where I don't let people I let people know kind of that I'm not happy with what's going on. Especially, I'm not saying, first morning of a tournament and you get to where you want to go and you're fishing, everything's cool. It's the second day when you pull up on that deal or wherever you're at, and there's 3 other boats there that you've never seen the first day. That's when my amphibious sunglasses, I put them on my hat, and I'll just kind of stare them down and kind of fish at them, like,
You're thinking about a specific story. Just tell us. We won't be able to watch or see any fishing for the next months. At least tell us the story.
No, there's been a few times where this has happened, but one that comes to mind is Nick and I were in second at Clear Lake, and we're in this. I mean, it's a well-known community spot. I'm not even saying that it's my spot. Well known, but we were about maybe a half mile from where anybody else was, right? And we're just butchering them on a topwater bait. I mean, just catching them.
Black lizard on a
And we ended up in second that first day, and I figured we could win because the guy that was leading to the first day had like a 11-pounder or something. So he wasn't going to duplicate that, is what I'm saying. We had all like 5 to 6.5 pounders. And second morning, we run over there. We were on a later flight. And there's like 11 boats moshing through this stuff. They were all on the outside of us, Carolina rigging and drop shotting and stuff way outside of us. And some stuff went down right in there. But I threw the trolling motor down and just kind of stared people down, and not one word was ever said. But all of them except for one got the hint. And basically he got kind of cut off and he wasn't a factor anymore anyway.
So you were just slow trolling past these boats with you and Nick just giving them the eye, and they would just slowly pull their trolling motors up and leave.
A couple of them pulled their trolling motors up and leave, and they said some stuff to me. But a lot of them would just kind of, start working the opposite way where they were fishing the first day. And here's the deal with all that, that stuff happens, and it's always going to happen. But one thing to think about is you're never going to catch somebody else's fish. All you're going to do is take away from your day, as well as the person you are trying to, fish whatever they were fishing. You're just getting in their way, and you're not doing what you're doing. Whatever you were doing the day one or whatever, that's what you thought you could do well in the tournament or win the tournament on. So going and chasing somebody else's fish or pattern or whatever, that's not what you intended to do anyway. So really, you're screwing up yourself as well as the other guy, and it's not good for anybody. But I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, the sport we're in, that's just the way it is. I don't want to get into a big political thing about this is my spot, that's your spot. It's the nature of the beast. All I can tell you is, if you're not fishing how you're confident in fishing with the baits you're confident in fishing in, you're not going to have a good event anyway. I've learned it. I've seen it.
All right, good question from Double A. I'm not sure where Double A is from. He says, what other baits are way overrated on the West Coast but seem to be popular somewhere else in the country?
Way overrated on the West Coast. Huh. I would say nowadays, like right now, the past year or two, a drop shot, man. I mean, it started here and it's been really, really relevant and dominant for many, many years. But now it seems like you have to do other things like, throw a wacky rig or a Nico rig or, I mean, there's more guys Carolina rigging out here now than there ever used to be. So I think more and more of the fisheries and the fish in general have, been exposed to the drop shot. And like, I'll be honest, when I go out to my local lake, I'm not throwing a drop shot a whole lot. I'll throw a Nico rig, I'll throw a wacky rig, different types of setups. But when I go back east, like at Lake Fork, one of my main patterns was I was throwing a power shot on outside stumps, and they were biting it in practice. And all throughout obviously, Aaron Martin's, like we were talking about earlier in the show, he's had a lot of success throwing drop shot. I mean, you see guys like Ott Defoe drop shot, Edwin Evers drop shotting. So, I mean, it's a really effective deal back east. And I'm not saying it doesn't catch fish in California anymore. That's not what I'm saying. But it's not being like 5 years ago when I fished a local tournament, wherever it was, whatever time of year, everybody in the tournament would have at least one drop shot rig tied up. Everybody. Now it's kind of like, maybe a quarter of the guys have a drop shot rig tied up. So it's not, that's just my opinion for what I see. It's not as big of a deal. It's kind of, like he said, kind of overrated. I mean, there's other guys that may argue differently, but that's what I see. And then, like I said, when I go out to my little lakes, I don't feel like I can catch them as well in a drop shot anymore. It's kind of like the umbrella rig. When that first came out here, it was unbelievable, like crazy. Now it is very hard to catch one on it, actually, and it's almost like a tool. It's like anything else that you have. It's, well, if the conditions are right on this stretch or on this point or in this, whatever creek channel bend, I'll throw it. But if it's not right, I'm not going to throw it. It's not like you just pick it up and throw it anymore. I mean, you got to kind of, pick and choose your times and the right ingredients need to be there for you to even get a bite. And I feel that's the same way with a drop shot.
Jeffries, I would like you to just briefly describe to Lintner your power shotting experience. Jeffries
I did it for the first time.
Thought he'd invented a new technique.
No, I did not.
But just explain to him how it went about, and then I want Jared to kind of give you feedback for the next time you're power shotting, maybe some tips or techniques for your power shot.
No, everybody knows I like to throw a Carolina rig a lot. I have for years. That's just me. Well, this one lake that you're familiar with, Arbuckle, it's got this green scum on it, all over it, man. You cannot throw a Carolina rig. So I was like, screw this. I'm going to put a half-ounce drop shot weight on and power shot it and drag it like a Carolina rig.
You called it an inverted Carolina rig, was what Jeffrey's title was. The inverted C rig.
Yeah, and then I ended up catching it because the bait would not come in contact with the green crap that was on the bottom. It would be all over the weight, and I caught fish doing it. It was the first time I'd ever done it. What did I call it?
The inverted Carolina rig.
Yeah, I think that's what I called
it.
Wow. I'm an idiot, but it was fun, man. I'll give it up. It was fun catching them that way.
Wow, Mark Exotic.
But that's a great question. All right,
Yeah.
I have 2 quick questions, and then we'll get back to the instant feedback. You do not need to elaborate on this. I'm just really curious. 1, have you ever been to Lake Isabella?
I had never been to Lake Isabella.
Okay, and then 2, have you ever caught bass out of the aqueduct system in California?
I've tried twice. I've tried 2 different times and have never caught one.
Yeah.
What?
Do you know what this is, Matt?
Oh, like the sewer?
No. It is the irrigation water flow system in California for all of the farms and stuff in the valley.
And there's bass in there?
Yeah.
No, there's very few bass. There's a lot of stripers.
There is a lot of stripers.
They come in from the ocean
Lots
through
of
the
stripers.
delta?
But here's the reason why I've never really tried that. First of all, why would I stop along an aqueduct and just fish straight riprap and concrete when I could keep driving another, I don't know, let's say 30 miles and be on the California Delta?
I agree 100%. I was just curious if you had ever done that.
No, that's a good question. I mean, that doesn't deserve a $100 AFCO gift card, but
And there's miles and miles of this stuff?
It was
miles.
It was kind of the
Miles.
thing to do there for a period of time, and it was like, yeah. And we went and caught him on the aqueduct.
Yeah, no, Matt, you can look it up like Google Earth. Interstate 5, Highway 5, that basically runs down from Northern California to Southern California. And there's an aqueduct that pretty much follows the whole line starting in about Stockton, and it goes all the way to Los Angeles.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's just packed with big bass and stripers.
I wouldn't say that. No, actually, when I played basketball in junior college, I had a friend named Brian Davis, and he lived over in Corcoran. So part of the aqueduct flowed through his family's farmland. And one summer, he's like, "Hey, man, let's go to my house." Okay. So we go over there, and there's nothing to do in Corcoran. I mean, it's like horrible. And he's like, "Hey, man, you want to have some fun?" I'm like, "All right." Well, his uncle or somebody, I forget, this is 35 years ago, got in this Jeep. He jumps in the aqueduct on a water ski, and they pull him going like 35 miles an hour. His uncle's in the Jeep. I'm in the Jeep, and he's water skiing down the aqueduct.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun there in the valley.
Wow. By the way, Lake Isabella, Matt, they have a lighting system on the lake. They have these big, ginormous lights. They have a red light, a yellow light, and a green light. And based upon how the wind is blowing, if you're on red light, you cannot go on the lake.
That's true.
Yeah. You ever seen a lake like that?
No.
Yeah.
Dude,
scary.
I've signed up and been. I've driven over there for tournaments, like Travelers deal and team stuff, and gotten canceled.
Yeah.
Like
Red
2 or
light.
3 different times.
Red light.
But they have big ones over there, like giant ones.
Yeah.
They used to. I don't know if they
It's
do
a
anymore,
very,
but-
very, very cool place. I used to go there when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
So you would just
What
go.
were you doing out here?
Dude, that's where I grew up. I grew up in Long Beach, and then my mom and dad had some really good friends that had a house not too far from Lake Isabella.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, and we would go up there because I forget, what is that one valley town? Arvin? There was a
Arvin,
town.
yep.
Yeah, you'd go
Yep.
through Arvin, and then you'd have to take this windy road, 2-lane road that everybody would get car sick on to get to Lake Isabella.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. Actually, when I pick up my boat and truck, that's the way I go. I go over 58 through Arvin. Yeah, the whole deal.
You didn't know Jeffries was a child actor in L.A.? I'm not BSing you. That's a true statement.
Come
He's on the
on.
cover of what board game was it?
No, it was a Mattel toy.
Yeah, he was on the cover of like the box. He was like a child
It's one
actor,
time, dude.
child
No, it
model.
wasn't. It was one time.
Are you kidding me?
One time. We actually found, or somebody found the insert to the game.
But
and-
not the picture of you on the board.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Wow.
Anyway,
That's
now
pretty impressive.
Lake Isabella is a very, very, very cool place. Very cool place. Kern River goes right through there, runs through there. So
Hey, do the trout that they stock in those lakes or used to stock and all that stuff out there, do people actually try to catch those trout? I've always wondered that. Like, everyone talks about the trout stockings, but like, are there people who go out there with like power bait and like beetle spins and catch them?
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's a big deal. That was part of when they stopped planting the trout. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of anglers were up in arms because they're like, hey man, this is what we fish for. I mean, so there's one lake called Lake Achuma that we can't fish anymore, or they got a quarantine for 30 days and then it's a big deal. Anyway, they have actually, we call them super trout. And these things get to like 10 to 15 pounds. I've caught them back in the day, spinner baits, buzz baits. I mean, this freaking giant trout.
You've caught a trout on a buzz bait?
Oh yeah, dude. These things are like, they're like bass, but they're trout. They're huge.
Wow.
Yeah. And when I was first learning how to fish, my lakes, I call them my lakes, like Lake Lopez, Carrie and I were dating. We were probably juniors in high school. I had a little tiny Valco, 12-foot Valco with a 9.9 horse game fisher, no trolling motor, and I'd drag her out to the lake, and we'd troll around the lake, and that's what I was fishing for, is trout. And then when I got bored with that, after about 30 minutes, we would float down the banks, and I'd catch bass. That's how I got into bass fishing.
Wow, very cool. Very cool. All right, let's go back to the instant feedback. Kyle in South Carolina wants to know, can you talk about the Spro rat that you used in South Carolina?
The Spro rat?
Yeah, Lake, what is it, Joe Cassie? Is that right?
What? I've never fished Joe Cassie.
Joe Cassie? Hey, all I know is what the dude said. Here,
The Spro rat?
Yeah. Please ask Jared about fishing the Spro rat on Lake Joe Cassie in South Carolina.
Joe Cassie. I'm trying to remember. I've thrown rats back there.
Yeah.
And I can show you if you want me to, some of the rats I have in the garage, but that whole deal.
Yeah.
Who was it that caught some big ones on a rat just recent, like in the past couple of years? I'm trying to remember.
It was like a college national championship that was won on a rat in North
I
Georgia
think that's what I was talking
on
about.
Chatoog.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, it's for some reason the blueback herring lakes and those big spotted bass lakes, the clay banks and stuff, clear water, a lot of those like kind of shallow laydowns with the branchy laydowns in shallow water on clay points. For some reason, they eat the crap out of rats out there.
All right.
And apparently in California. I don't own one. That's why I want to see them. I mean, it's like taking chunks of wood and they just like screw them together and call it a rat. It's unbelievable how big these things are.
It's all about the profile and the swimming action of it. So it's kind of like a swim bait, actually. Let me flip this thing around here. Hold on.
This is cool.
So there's a rat, right? Oh, that's right here. This camera's got to go way up. I can't find it.
There it is.
So where are we at here? I don't know where my camera's at. So there's a rat.
Perfect.
There's a wooden rat. That's a G rat. Okay. And it's all about the profile. So a lot of our lakes around, in California, there's all my other swim baits. That thing right there. Look at this freaking mat. I think that's as big as my hand. That bluegill.
Holy crap.
Dude, they bite that.
Is that big jackal?
But, yeah, that's a gigantual.
Yeah.
But there's some of my swim baits. Got the G-Rats. This bait right here is the one that everybody's seeking. That's the one that 2 years ago the guy caught a 13. I think it was a 13 and a 9-pound spot on that at Shasta. Right there. Got a couple of those. Just random baits. But I wish I had my other rats. I think they're in my truck. But yeah, no, the whole deal with that is I'll go back in the house. It's cold out here. Unless you guys want to talk about anything else out there.
No, if we do, it's a quick walk.
Yeah.
The whole deal with a rat, though, is all about the profile of it. We have these little things. I don't know exactly what they're called. Some people call them minks. Some people call them little weasels. But like at Clear Lake, the Delta, a couple of my little lakes, you get these. I don't know. Like I said, it's like a weasel, and they got tails and stuff, and they just kind of swim across the surface, man. Dude, it's not a gimmick. A big thing here in California, because that's where kind of all these swim bait guys come from, is this a gimmick or not a gimmick? And until you really fish one, you don't really kind of know. And there's been a lot of baits that come out that's anglers, they catch the anglers, they don't catch fish. Those rats they catch fish. And I've caught them. Where it's really good for it is actually Toledo Bend, Rayburn. I've tried throwing them up north, like in New York, Champlain and stuff. And I wouldn't recommend doing that because the pike and muskie love those things. I've not caught bass on them up there. Where it would be interesting to try one, and I've never really been there that time of year to throw one, would be Grand Lake. I could see them eating at Grand Lake when there's water in the bushes and stuff like that. I guarantee catching fish on it.
And you think they always think it's a rat? Like you think you think they believe that it is a rodent swimming through the water, and not just a shad that's a big gizzard shad or something.
It could be. Again, it goes back to the profile thing. I think it's something big that is in their area. And you can't tell me, Matt, that you have never seen like a squirrel swimming across the water or a little mouse. I mean, dude, you don't know what happens out there, especially like when the lakes get flooded and high. I mean, imagine all the little mice and rats and crap coming out of those bushes and grass. I mean, dude, a bass is going to eat that stuff. I mean, I've seen pictures of, live wells where, tournament and the guy will take a picture and there's a big giant rat in there that one is choked up in the live well. Yeah, I mean, they eat them.
All right, very nice. Back to the instant feedback. V Win wants to know, what's your personal best bedfish? Where was it caught? And can you talk a little bit about what you were using when you caught it?
14.85 pounds. So that was on tents. So it was almost 15-pounder. Clear Lake, California in, I think it was May.
May of 2000.
May of
1.
No.
2000.
No, because Elise was 1 year old. I'm conferring with my wife.
Social media and statistician.
Elise, my daughter was like
That's right. It was 2000.
1. So it was 2000 in May at Clear Lake. And it was a one bass pro-am. Jimmy Reese won it. He found a school of fish. It was unbelievable. Like, blew the tournament away. And I was going around sight fishing. Was having a bad day. I lost one that was like 6 to 7 pounds, and I had like probably 16, 17 pounds at the time, which was horrible because everybody in the field caught 20 to 25. I mean, it's just the way it was. And I'm going around and I get in this little cut and I turn my boat. And again, this was back before power poles, all the fancy stuff. I didn't even have graphs on my boat back then. Like, didn't even care how deep the water was. Did not care. And I see this fish, and I'm like, oh my gosh, man. I'm thinking to myself, what's a carp doing up here this time of year? I mean, it was, usually in the summertime is when the carp get up there and blow all over the bank. And I see this like 12 and a half, 13-inch bass, like right next to this carp. And I'm like, man, what's the deal? And I kind of just pitched at that fish while I was going around. And this thing turns, and I'm like, oh my God, that's a bass. I mean, I had really no idea that it was a bass until it turned, and I seen the lateral line. And I'm like, holy. So I tell my partner, because it was a pro-am, shared weight. So I tell him, dude, we got to catch that one, And so I turn the boat around, and the wind's blowing a little bit, and eventually he falls asleep. This is a true story. And I'm throwing everything I had in the boat at the time. I think I was throwing like 20-pound big game. This is 2000. And eventually I had a little shad color tube, and I rigged it up on my 20-pound line. I'm trying all these different baits, and she bit. And I freaked out, got her in the boat. I had to take apart my live wells. I had a Ranger 461 at the time. I had to take everything apart so I could fit it in the live well. And yeah.
Wow.
Yep. 1485.
What'd you catch it on? What were you using? You remember?
On a 4-inch Gets It, shad color.
Wow.
That's got to be like one of the biggest fish ever weighed in a tournament.
15 pounds?
From what I understand, and I haven't done the research lately, but in a pro-am type event in California, I think it still holds the record.
Did you get a replica of that?
Yeah.
It's on next one.
Yep. It's actually so. It's a funny story. So, like 3 years ago, we sold our house, and then we were waiting for this other deal to close. So I wanted to protect. I have a nice buck mounted, and I got one of the big ones I've caught at Lopez, a replica. It's a northern strain bass, and then obviously that 1485, I have a mount of that. Well, to protect him, I hung him up in Nick's house because he's a bachelor, and nothing's gonna. And he's pretty much told me I can't take him back because it's a talking piece for his house.
If you're wondering who this Nick character is that I talked about, it's Nick Salvucci. He's Lintner's team partner for many years. He also won last year's One Bass U.S. Open and was second the year before, and I drew him. And he's like, how good is Nick in your opinion? As far as compare him to the average tour level angler, like he's pretty damn good, isn't he?
He could fish. Yeah, he could fish on a national deal. He, the interesting thing about Nick is he does what a lot of people are afraid to do. Meaning, and I've been guilty of it, throughout my career. Many other guys have been, where you're like, man, I'm not getting enough bites throwing a freaking big double buzz or a chatterbait or whatever it may be. I'm not getting enough bites. I better, pump the brakes and go drag a little jig to catch some fish, to get points, to qualify for the Classic or qualify for the Red Crest or what have you. He does not, that doesn't even compute with him, like ever. Like he's going to throw whatever bait it is that he feels like he can catch the 5 biggest fish that day in that lake, regardless of the outcome. And it's been interesting fishing with him for many years now. There's been times where he's wrecked him, and there's been times where I've wrecked him. There's a lot of tournaments where he'll be like, all right, Jared, I'm just going to throw this frog all day. I don't care what you got going on, but I'm going to frog all day. I'm like, all right, well, they're not biting it, dude. I mean, yeah, but if I get bit, it'll be a big one. Okay, Nick. So there's been times where, dude, I mean, he'll get 2 bites a day. We won a boat up at Clear Lake because he wouldn't put this one particular swim bait down for 2 straight days. That's all he threw. Like I was rigging up like 15 rods, and I had all this crap going. We'd get back to the house, he'd reline his one rod and go in the house and take a nap. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, dude, I got my deal. This is what I'm throwing. That's it, done. So, I mean, I wish I had that kind of mentality, every tournament. I'm not saying I don't in some tournaments. I think all of us, you get on the right deal, whether you're Jason Christie or whoever it may be, and you're just like, dude, I'm locking this in my hand. This is all I'm going to do. And that's the way it goes. But many times, you're like, all right, man, I'm going to pull out a shaky head because, I got to catch a limit, or I got to, I need to catch some 2-pounders, put on a score tracker, whatever. That's not Nick. So I've learned a lot from him. I think he's learned a lot from me. But it's just funny, man. I mean, it still cracks me up to this day when we go fishing to be like, dude, I got this new 13-inch swim bait. I'm just going to throw it all day, see what happens. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Yep, that's all I'm going to do.
And he spent hundreds of days in the boat together, Nick and Jared. I've spent one day with him, and it literally, like, honestly, the one day I fished with him when I was at AAA in the U.S. Open, it took me about a half an hour to realize, all right, this guy's pretty committed. Like, it was pretty obvious that, like, I think I brought 5 or 6 rods with me. It was pretty obvious that I would be using 1 or 2. Because the other 2, like, there was no changing. Like, I remember thinking, like, this is either going to be really good or really bad. Yeah. But I'd watched a video of him the night before I'd even drawn him. Yeah. And I was like, how do I know that name? And I get back and I'm rooming with Brad Hallman, and he, like, hits me up the head. He's like, dude, that's that guy we were watching on the video. He's like, you drew the guy from the video. And I was like, okay. And then it was one thing all day long with some
that was good for you
intermittent cursing fits and bitching at other guys that came in the area, and came in with 11 pounds.
Very nice. All right, let's get back to the instant feedback. A ton of questions still out there. Dave wants to know, what's the best application? What do you use Sunline Assassin for?
Sunline Assassin, man, that is a really limp line, really slick. My main thing that I use it for a few different things, but my main thing is for like a soft jerkbait, like a fluke, a sluggo. Remember the sluggo days back in the day? Yeah. It casts really good, a lot of strength. But yeah, man, a soft jerkbait is really hard to beat with that. I mean, I casted a mile, like I said, a little, even those little, what are they? I still have them. They're hanging in my garage, actually. The little fins made by Sluggo.
Yeah.
Fin S is what it's called. Yeah. Even those little things. I mean, you can cast it on like 15, really easy, really nice. So I would say a soft jerkbait would be my #1 application for sure.
All right. Matt in Minnesota wants to know, what's the strangest thing you've ever found in your live well after a bass has regurgitated something?
Oh, a snake.
Really?
Yep. I'm petrified of snakes, man. Petrified, like freak out.
Oh, I remember Falcon Lake, man, when you walked out of the hotel room.
You told that story last week, Mark. You literally told that story in January when we had Matt Reed on about how they were jacking with you.
Yeah.
Dude, this is so bad. I'm terrified of snakes. But a team tournament years ago with my partner Tim at the time. This is a long time ago. Up at Lake San Antonio. We were back in the river. It was flooded, summertime. We were catching back then. Remember the old scum frog deal, with the little plastic legs? It was dating myself, but we're catching them on that. And we go to weigh in. I open up the live well. We got a weighing bag and everything. And there's about a 8 to 10 inch little baby rattlesnake, like halfway still alive. And I did not get the fish out of live well.
Wow. Mm-hmm. A lot of people want to know, do you still have the dairy?
So it's still in my family. My sister kind of runs it. My dad is retired. About 4 or 5 years ago, I just had to get out of it. I mean, in an emergency, I'll do whatever it takes because it is a family business. However, it was a hard kind of deal. About 10 years ago, I would say I was leaning, I was still fishing professionally out on the, throughout the country. And then I'd come home and I'd work the milk business, the dairy business, do all this. And there was a point in time where both of them were suffering, meaning my accounts are suffering because I wasn't there all the time. I didn't know kind of what was going on. They weren't kind of happy with the situation. And then on the fishing side, my sponsors weren't happy because they'd be like, hey, we need you to go, work this boat show during this week, or we need you to do this or do that. I can't. I got to deliver milk. So there came a point in time where it was like I had to do one or the other, and I chose to get up and go fishing rather than get up and go deliver milk.
There you have it. A lot of people. There's your answer on that one. All right. Will in Orlando wants to know. He's a new Bass Club member. It's a 5-fish thing, and he wants to know what your best practice in culling would be. In other words, do you let 5 go in the live well, and then when you catch your 6th one, do you cull? Do you cull as you go? What's your thoughts on culling?
I've always been one to get my limit, 5 fish. Get my limit, and then I'll take the time to figure out exactly which one goes. What my whole process used to be, in the 5-fish limit, it still is when I fish, local team stuff. You have divided live wells generally. I mean, most guys do. What I'll try to do is keep my smallest one at the time separate. I use those TH Marie, conservation cold clips. So I'll tag my smallest one. I always put him by himself in one of the live wells, and I'll put the other 4 in the other live well. And then when I get 5, right then, before I even make another cast, I'll figure out exactly, which one is my smallest, and weigh them. I'll weigh them, and now we have all the scales that keep track of all that. Back in the day, you used to have to write it all down on a freaking notepad and do all that. Now you enter it into some of these scales, and it keeps track of them all. So that way, when I catch my 6 fish, 7 fish on, you simply weigh them, replace that one that's in there already, and you're good to go. So I don't take time to weigh every one. Like when I catch the first one, I don't sit down, weigh it, put it in the live well, just because they might be biting. It's generally in the morning. I don't want to waste time to do that at that point. And here's another little superstition, and I'm kind of curious how many other people have this. I never have in a 5-fish deal. I'll never have 2 fish on one side and 2 fish on the other, or 1 and 1. I never have the same amount of fish on either side. And it's a bad superstition. But there's been times, like even when fishing with Nick, when we first started fishing together, we'd be fishing, we'd have 4. Be like, God dang, dude, they stopped biting. I'd be like, how many fish are in that live well? 2. Dude, throw one in the other live well. And I swear to you could call Nick and ask him, throw the fish in the other live well, so you got 3 and 1, boom, catch another fish. It happens so many times.
Wow.
So that's my advice. Never have even amount of fish in both live wells.
There you have it. All right, Matt in Ohio wants to know, what's your favorite way to catch smallmouth, and what's your best smallmouth catch?
My biggest smallmouth to date is I caught a 670, 74 or 75 or something like that up at St. Lawrence River. I love catching smallmouth on topwater. I mean, everybody loves a topwater bite, but when they get post-spawn, like a little, and this is again dating myself, a little Zara puppy. I don't know if you guys all remember that. That is my all-time favorite smallmouth bait of all time. I got one out there in the garage. It's in some box out there that I keep here just for when I'm fishing. I got several in my truck, but for whatever, that little Zara puppy, post-spawn, pretty much anywhere in the country, you catch some big, and the way they eat that thing is unbelievable. Obviously you catch them on a Ned rig, on a drop shot, on a, jerk baits, all that. I mean, but that little Zara puppy bite is unbelievable.
Like it a lot. All right, you good on time?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just chilling out.
All right, cool. All right, I'm going to keep going then. All right, Doug from Clear Lake wants to know, which one would be more miserable? A team tournament with Nick where he's using a spinning rod all day long, or you have to fish at the south end of Clear Lake when you know the bite is on the north end. Which one's worse?
Man, first of all, you couldn't ever convince Nick to even throw a spinning rod all day, ever.
He made fun of me in the one day that I fished with him. He really did.
Oh, I know.
He made fun of me. He's like, you could throw that on a bait caster. I was like, yeah, I could throw it farther. He's like, I just remember he was making fun of me. I was throwing a dipper on a spinning rod, and he's like, the bait caster, you could throw that thing on there too.
Yeah, I would say the latter, because knowing Nick, I mean, you couldn't pay him to fish all day with a spinning rod only. I mean, you couldn't. I mean, but that would be a really miserable day. However, if I had to be in the boat with him, I mean, I think it would be a short day. But knowing that they're biting on Clear Lake and in the north end and being stuck in the south end would be probably the worst nightmare I've ever had in my life. Yeah. I mean, Clear Lake's awesome, dude. The southern end, I give it a hard time. I've made a lot of money down there, but the north end is just kind of like, I don't know. It's just something I'm so familiar with that it's hard for me to go to Clear Lake and not fish the north end. But like I said, the south end is something special. There's been a lot of tournaments won down there. That's one thing that, throughout this whole deal, if Clear Lake reopens and I have time, I'll go up there and spend a week, fishing predominantly the south end just to relearn it and kind of get more confidence in it.
All right, very nice. Let's see here. A lot of people want to know, including Dave, what is a West Coast guy that people just don't know about that could potentially have a massive impact on being successful on any of the pro tours?
Let me think here. Well, like we've been talking about Nick, he could do really well, but the deal with him would be, he'd either be really, really successful in tournament, in a given tournament, or really, really unsuccessful, because of the style he fishes, and there's nothing wrong with that. I would say a guy you're going to start hearing a lot about would be Bryant Smith. He's won a lot of tournaments at a lot of different locations. I don't really know him all that well. I've met him a few times. I mean, it's hard, because I'm gone so much. I don't know a lot of the guys. Just watching him, reading about him, seeing the way he fishes. I mean, he'll catch him on a frog one tournament, and then he'll be throwing a 3-inch Cinco on 6-pound test the next tournament. I mean, the guy's got it, and I can see him having a really, really good career out east or anywhere he fishes for that matter.
All right, Bill in Florida wants to know, what is the one technique that you have the least confidence in?
The least confidence?
Yep.
Man, there's two, and they kind of mirror each other. One would be a Carolina rig, Jeffries. Just because, dude, I can seriously, because it's not anything we do here a lot in California. I can seriously tell you, probably I've weighed in less than 10 bass in my entire life on a Carolina rig.
Really?
Ever in my entire life. That and a deep diving crankbait on ledges where I don't know what's there, meaning Kentucky Lake or Pickwick, where you just go and it seems like you go for miles and miles and miles. And I think that's my problem, is I don't take my time with my electronics. I have Garmin's and they show everything great. I don't take my time to graph as much as I should and find those shell beds or those turns. I just take off and go, and I'll get bored with it, and I'll go to the bank, throw a frog, and get my butt kicked by guys throwing a deep diving crankbait or a Carolina rig out on those same ledges that I just left. So, but like at lakes I know, like Clear Lake, Lake Lopez, Margarita, I can catch them really good on a deep diving crankbait because I know specifically where I'm throwing at. So I would say, a Carolina rig and a deep diving crankbait. The Carolina rig, dude, it just bores me. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It catches a lot of fish and a lot of big ones. It just drives me bonkers, man.
Did you say Lake Margarita?
Yeah, man. Santa Margarita.
I like that lake.
I visit it quite often.
Yeah, I'm not scared to admit I like a good margarita. That's been one of the tough things during this quarantine.
There's some giants in there, man. Big ones.
Wow.
Huge ones.
All right. Cool question here. Chris in Ontario, Canada wants to know, what can you remember about the worst backlash that you've ever had at the worst time during a tournament? Do you recall any of that?
I've had a few, but the one that rings a bell, it was actually on national TV on the Discovery Channel here recently. So it was the elimination at a Major League Fishing Cup event at Bull Shoals just last year. So, I'm kind of on that borderline deal and in it, out of it, out of the cut, in the cut, in the cut, out of the cut. And I'm going, and they were kind of schooling here and there, and I was catching them on like a shaky head on this bluff wall. Earlier in the morning, I caught some schooling, and I'm going down this wall, and this is all on camera. I mean, I can't make this up. They didn't show it kind of as long as it happened, and I go, oh my God! And out in front of me, maybe 50 to 75 feet, not yards, this massive school of like 2 to 3 pound fish come up blowing, like look like tuna out there, right? And I go, oh my God, throw my rod down, I grab my spook, and I go to heave it. And again, it's only 50, 60 feet. It's not like I got a bomb out there, dude. And I had the worst backlash, cameras rolling, I've ever, I couldn't even pick it out. I had to cut my line. The bait went maybe 15 feet from the boat, and these fish are still blowing up. And by the time I got another rod out, they were gone. Never caught one.
Wow. That reminds me, I tell this story when we talk about co-anglers. I tell this story one time, one of the earliest memories I have of shooting photographs for BTL. Do you remember the Lintner? Were you with us when the Lintner deal, when he had the
I don't think so.
You had a co-angler. I don't even remember what lake you're at. I just remember this. Your co-angler was throwing a Cinco. We might even talk to you about this on the show. And he was culling behind you in the Elite Series, and he caught one and you spiked your spinning reel off the front deck.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
I just thought that was a funny story. That lasted lasting impact, because here's the guy. He was staying behind it. I mean, I just remember and then the spinning reel broke into a million pieces. The whole thing, it just boom, gone.
That was that at Grand Lake?
I don't remember. No, it wasn't at Grand.
Are you sure?
Yeah, was it at Smith Mountain?
No, because I did good in those tournaments.
It wasn't at Grand.
Are you sure? Because I remember, I'm thinking, it was later in the day on day 2, and dude, I'd been having a rough tournament, and this guy is just hosing me.
Yeah, it might have.
And I thought it was at Grand in the back.
It might have been
in the back of Horse, I think, or maybe it was a main body pocket. That was a long time ago, obviously, but yeah, my problem is when Nick calls him a meltdown. When I get to a point where I'm over it, I kind of go, I don't have control. I remember another time at Santee Cooper, I worked this bedfish. This is the first year on the Elites, and worked this bedfish forever, back and forth. I'd leave it, come back, leave it, come back. It was like an 8 or 9 pounder, and I freaking hook it finally, go to grab it, and comes off. And I took that rod and reel and I threw it so far up in the woods that I don't think anybody's ever found it. And my partner at the time's like, oh my God, dude, are you okay? And I'm like, I turned around and he's like, okay, I'm not going to say anything to you the rest of the day. I mean, yeah, I've had some good ones over the years.
That's a meltdown.
Yeah, I've had meltdowns. I mean, it happens, you know. I mean,
just chucked it in the woods. I've never heard that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I've seen bowling stories that are pretty
well,
bad.
I mean, everyone
but-
sees Ike where he saws the rod off on the side and chucks it and stuff. But there's very few guys who are man enough to admit, oh, yeah, I javelined that thing up into the shrubbery.
I know I haven't talked bowling for a while, but
God.
no. Listen
We're
to this.
2
Jared.
hours into the show. You've got about 30 seconds before people lose their
lose
their patience.
Yeah, this is an epic story. All right, the dude needs a strike to win. Okay, this is a big time tournament in California. Needs a strike to win, and he leaves a solid 10-pin. He walks back. He grabs his ball. All right, he walks to the door of the bowling center. He leaves the bowling center and chucks it out into the parking lot onto the highway and hits a Corvette.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like this guy.
And then walked back in, took his stuff, changed his shoes, and left. That is one of the most incredible pissed off stories I ever witnessed. And I was standing right there when and then the guy in the Corvette, he pulls into the parking lot and tries to find the guy. And man, he's like this 6'6", 260-pound dude that is pissed because the entire side of his fiberglass Corvette is completely shattered.
Wow.
So that's a little bit better than throwing a rod and reel onto the bank into the oblivion. It's Santee Cooper. But yeah, dude, he was not. His name was his last name was Murray. Mike Murray was the guy's name.
That's a good one.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Anyway, all
That's
right.
crazy.
Do we have a winner yet?
All right, a couple more questions, and then you're gonna pick a winner. Let's see here. Rich from Connecticut wants to know, what's your favorite lake outside of California?
Oh man, favorite lake outside California. Shoot, man, I love Champlain, man. I mean, I know everybody does, but Champlain it's awesome just because you get largemouth, smallmouth. I mean, you could catch them any way you want, kind of, and species. I mean, dude, I grew up fishing in Minnesota, so even catching pike and muskie and yellow perch and all that, you know, which guys are, stupid pike. I kind of like them. I mean, they're fun because it brings me kind of memories back when I was a kid in Minnesota, you know, catching pretty much everything that bit. And I think that's what we kind of forget about, dude. The reason we're all got into fishing is because of that bite, you know. And but yeah, I'd say Champlain.
All right, let's see here. Man, there's a ton I just haven't been able to get to. Bling 55, does that ring a bell?
Bling 55, that's a Jackal crankbait. If he has any, tell him to call me so I can buy him.
Yeah. A couple people asking about that, why they discontinued it.
Oh, they're asking. I thought you said this guy's handle was Bling 55.
No.
Bling 55 is, it's a. Have you heard about it, Matt?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're going for like $30-$40.
Yeah, dude, that bait is, man, it's a great bait.
How long has it been out of production now?
Probably 3 to 5 years, somewhere in there. I want to say 4 for some reason, but man, that thing, dude, is, it's a flat side crankbait with a rattle, you know, with rattles, kind of like a little. It's got the same sound as like a lipless crankbait, real tight. Wobble, gets down, depending on your line, about anywhere from 4 to 8 foot. Dude, I'm freaking. Oh, hold on, back up to the garage. Hold on a second.
Uh-oh.
I'll show you. I'll make some people pissed.
Do you really? You know about that? You're all over that?
Yeah.
Do you have any?
No, I don't have any.
Carrie, where's the camera on this?
But yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that if you kind of keep up with the bait trends,
All right,
you've seen the stock in the Bling 55s rising.
Yeah, dude, I'll go swimming after these guys. So, There it is, right there. Bling 55. Hold on, I gotta find it. I got a collection going up there, but let me turn it back around. I got it now.
Is that a dog?
Yeah, I got my dog out there.
Oh, we have had just a great run of pets. We had Andy Montgomery's cat. We had my dog. Now we've got Lintner's dog, Jeffrey's cat,
Swindle's dog.
Swindle's dog.
They're at a shelter in place also. See, there's the bling.
Hang on, let me get a close up.
Oh, wow. Yep, there you go.
I'm trying to get them to bring him back, but you can hear it.
Yeah.
And that sucker right there, it's got a circuit board bill. I mean, dude, it's.
Do you put a front treble hook on?
Yeah, I don't know why I took that off.
I didn't know if that was something.
It's probably one that I found. Dude, I find them here and there, like your Wigglewart story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me just to get hung up and snap it off. I mean, dude, I've broke a couple rod tips trying to retrieve these with another rod, like shove a flipping stick down there with braid, and yeah. These are. Yep. I feel like when I go, when there's a crankbait deal going on, it's kind of like Wesley Strader and Morgan and all these guys with their balsas, their handcrafted deals. And I feel the same way about that bait because I know there's not a bunch of them out there, that it's just one of my confident deals, when I'm back east or wherever. I mean, here in California, anywhere I go, I catch them on it.
All right, very nice. Last question. Zach in Iowa wants to know, what's your favorite feature about the Hydronaut?
Favorite feature about the Hydronaut? The straps that go over the shoulders, because they're real wide. They're like 3+ inches wide. And, over the years, the problem with the smaller ones with a heavier suit, so like the Proteus is a lighter weight suit, and it does have those, I forget what you call them, like shoulder straps, or they're only about like 1 inch to 1.5 inches wide. They'll pull down on you, and you just feel your back kind of getting real, I don't know, like the weight of the world's on you realistically. But with those wide shoulder straps, with that heavier suit, my back doesn't hurt. It's a lot more comfortable and easier to throw. Actually, I'm not constantly like adjusting them, throughout the day. That's my favorite feature of it. I mean, there's many others like that. Speed Van hood is really good. So, yeah.
All right. Time to pick one, Jared.
All right, Matt. What do you think?
Who's going to be the winner?
I don't know. What sticks out in what sticks out in your mind?
You've got everything in front of you right there, don't you, Matt?
Yeah, I got some of them.
Okay.
Okay. Redo the top three, and then we'll pick.
I thought that Jim's. Well, I just have Jim's written down because I didn't do any after that. But I thought his question about the intimidation was interesting and led to some interesting discussions. I thought that's kind of an insider question, but I thought the Clear Lake question about Nick with the spinning rod, or would you rather be stuck with him or on the wrong end of the lake when you know it's going down on the other end? I thought that was a very good thought-provoking question. There are a number of them.
I'm out of this one. I'm not involved.
I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
It's your call. You're the one giving away the $100. Unless there was what were the other ones?
Well, there's some good AFCO questions, but I like Jim's question. Just and here's the deal with that is I got kind of the rap of, not so much anymore, but I guess when I was younger, people always were like, dude, what's up with Lintner, man? He looks like he wants to kill somebody. And it's not me. I mean, I'm not a mean person. But I guess it's just the way my mustache is makes me always look like I got a frown. And I've heard it so many times, like, you know, back Marshall days, co-anglers, whatever. Like, hey, man, it was really nice to fish with you, man. It's a lot different than I thought. And I'm like, what'd you think? And they're like, well, I thought that it was going to, you know, that you're just always pissed and angry. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I don't know where that rap came from, but in those circumstances, I guess I'll use it, right?
I'm just saying.
Like Matt, if I pulled up on you, let's say you're fishing a team tournament at Clear Lake and you pull up on one of my favorite spots trying to poach me, and I give you the glare, I can see you venturing away.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, I mean, Linter's a nice guy, but we are a little over 2 hours into this. I mean, I'll do like a 2-minute highlight of this. I mean, I could do a 2-minute highlight of him talking about how he intimidates people out of areas and throws rods into the woods. So I can make you seem really intimidating in the recap here.
Yeah.
You better be kind of nice, otherwise I would call Christy, because he can intimidate people too.
I will. I could also turn it into a that you're giving away things, that you're the Santa Claus of the fishing world with a kind heart.
That's right. Well, maybe if you're nice to me, Matt, I might have one of these with your name on it.
Ooh. Can you get me that by tomorrow?
Maybe.
Not really.
But yeah, let's go with Jim.
Jim in Indiana.
All right. So, Jim, send me an email, mark@bassown.com, and I will forward it on to Jared.
Was Jim, right?
Yeah, with your ship to info.
I get Jim and Andy mixed up.
Yeah. It was Jim.
Okay.
You can go back and verify.
Yeah.
Because I posted it. But
yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, dude, man, we've went 2 hours with you, and it's been great stuff. Can't thank you enough. And we'll look forward to some live stuff, some tips, some techniques.
Yep.
And can't wait to see what you have out there. And wish you nothing but the best, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's going to be fun. You know, we're going to try to keep working, and hopefully everybody gets past this. And best wishes to Aaron. You know, I'm sure everybody's thinking about him too. So I don't know when the surgery and everything was taking place, but man, real quick last story. I remember fishing against Aaron, dude, back in the day, like prior to the mustache day.
Wow.
At Lake Kachuma, this little kid, well, I was a younger kid, but he show up with his mom in their setup and would pretty much dominate Lake Kachuma against these, you know, guys that fished there their whole lives. And that's kind of the first time I remember seeing Aaron. Everybody's like, dude, this guy's cheating. We used to have a area called Jackrabbit Flats. And he'd go out there with his drop shot that nobody knew about for like 7 years, except for him. And he would freaking take everybody's money, him and his mom, Carol, day in and day out. And ever since then, I'm like, who is this guy? I mean, he doesn't go to school. He doesn't work. He just catches bass. And yeah, he's a great friend of mine. And so I wish him the best, and Leslie and Carol and everybody.
All right, dude. Well said. And just be safe. Tell everybody hello out there, and look for all kinds of stuff coming from you, hopefully video-wise and fishing-wise, man. So be safe, and we'll talk to you soon, Jared.
Yeah, man. Hey, Matt, good luck tomorrow, buddy.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm going to need it. Hey, well, the viewers don't know what's going on.
We're getting ready to
tell them, but without letting the cat out of the bag, what would you put the odds at? It's going to be a full day, 5 fish.
The odds?
Yeah. Like for me to win, like Jeffrey said, what'd you put me at? 18 to 1?
18 to 1.
I mean,
be honest, you're not going to offend me.
I would say 10 to 1.
Okay.
Oh, Lintner with more faith in me than the guy who sat across from me for 12 years.
I would say 10 to 1, only because where this is taking place has giants, and anybody can catch it.
All right. It is that time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
but if you had my secret crankbait, I'd put you at like 5-1.
Oh, there you have it.
Well, you're gonna regret having that crankbait on the show in about a week when you look at eBay, but we've been down that path before with the hate mail.
Yes, we have. All right, Jared, man, take care. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys.
All right, see you. There you have it, Jared Lintner. Great show. Man, we went over 2 hours.
Yeah.
All right, let's let everybody know, Matthew, what is taking place tomorrow? What is the reason that you are not going to be sitting across from me in the studio?
I just wanted to prove that I had a pair. So I called up Jason Christie and challenged him to a one-on-one on one of his home ponds. And then he accepted. And we're doing it tomorrow.
Wow. I give it up to you, man.
I literally just called him up and he said, hello. And I said, Jason. He goes, yeah. This is Matt from BTL. And I didn't say anything. I said, I work with Mark Jeffries. And he goes, yeah, I know who you are. He goes, what do you need? I said, I'm tired of everyone. This is no joke. I said, I'm tired of everyone saying that I'm scared of your ass. And then his phone went dead right there. So that was the last thing that he heard. So he's got no cell service. Now he thinks that I just called him up and I'm like bitching him out about it. So it takes me I'm like sweating profusely. It takes me like 10 minutes to get him back. I'm like, Mr. Christie, let's get this quick. I was like, everyone's still tagging me that I'm scared of you and we need to fish against each other one-on-one. I was like, I was a little smoother than that. But he's like, okay. I said, you down with that? He said, yeah. I said, well, I haven't thought of any of the details. I didn't think you'd say yes, so I need to think about how this needs to go down. He's like, well, why don't you just call me Sunday? We'll figure it out with good weather. So I called me last night while I was out crappie fishing. He actually called me.
Yeah.
He said, you still want to do this? I said, yeah. He said, you sure?
Yeah.
I said, yeah. He said, I know where they're biting. He named 10 killer. He said, but I'm not going to do that to you. He has a little compassion in his heart. He said, I know where else they're biting. He said, but you'd probably lose a lower unit. He said, so how's this lake sound? It's another lake. Smaller lake. So
yeah.
I got to call him to square away the details.
Yeah.
So one-on-one. So here's the deal. With social distancing, with being out, I'm going by myself. It's within an hour of the house. It's within an hour of his house. He knows how to run the Verbs, GoPros, whatever he runs.
Can't do live because the cell service around there is horrible.
He's running it on his boat. I'm running it on my boat. Obviously, we'll do some stuff when we're both at the ramp, but like I said, taking into account the social distancing with what's going on right now with COVID and stay-at-home orders, it's just a fun day of fishing between us. Obviously, we'll be talking some smack, but I challenged Jason Christie to a tournament, a bet, and I said, well, we'll just make it half a day so you can get on with your life. And he's like, hell, if I'm going fishing, I want to fish against you a full day.
8 hours?
I said, okay, yeah, 8 hours, I guess. Full day.
So this thing is going to be recorded, and then you're going to produce it.
And it'll be out on the BTL YouTube channel, me versus Jason Christie, to settle the bet to prove that I am not scared to call this guy. I mean, how many people you think have called him up and said, hey.
Not that many.
I want to challenge you.
Not that many. Is there a wager?
There will be. We'll see what we can put on it. I know at least we'll probably put $100 on it. Would be my guess.
Very nice.
Just to make it worth his time to give him $100 to come down and fish for the day, cover his expenses.
Now I set the odds at 18-1.
Yeah.
That's the line. Right. Obviously, Jason, even money, 1-1. So
even money. What's it where you have to like? No, that's a horrible.
If it was like minus 220.
Yeah, it'd be like to win 100, you have to bet 220.
Yeah.
It needs to be more than that. Like to win 100, you need to bet 1,000 or something like that. What is that, 100?
No, Jared had a good point. It is the spawn time of the year, and that is a body of water that you guys are fishing at that has big ones in there. Is there a possibility that you could catch a big one? Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. And what's your history on that lake?
I've been there probably 10 or 15 times.
Yeah.
I like the lake.
You got some history. It fits your style.
It does.
So, maybe 18-1 is a little high.
I don't know. We'll see, but I'm sure there'll be a I'll probably do a 30-40 minute video of it afterwards. He's going to send me his footage then, and then we'll break it down. And then that being said, hopefully we'll get him on the show afterwards to talk about it. But tomorrow during the show, if we have cell service, you guys might be able to check in with me, check in with Jason. If we start early enough in the morning, we'll be already well into it, and I won't know what he has, and he won't know what I have.
Yeah.
But you'll be able to watch it all down because it'll all be filmed 24/7.
All right. This is cool stuff, folks. I never thought it'd turn into this.
Are you proud of me? Did you think I would do it?
Man. Dude, you're showing a set of nads. I give it up to you.
I mean, you've told me to do some other stuff that you didn't think I'd do, and I did it.
I like it. I like it a lot, man. We'll see what happens. This is going to be good. All right, tomorrow my co-host is going to be Dean Rojas. I might have somebody in studio yet. Still working on that. We shall see. But for sure, Dean Rojas will be on live via Skype. We'll do the entire show with Dean tomorrow. And then Wednesday, Bradley Hallman in studio. Sunline Hotline on Thursday. A jam-packed week. Once again, Matthew, have fun tomorrow. Be safe. Enjoy the moment.
The show
Catch
is
some fish.
2.5 hours long, and I got a lot of tackle to work on. It's the biggest tournament. This is the biggest day of the water of my life on the water.
Go Salvucci. Take one rod.
I'm going to have more. I feel like I have more at stake than I did going into the final day of the Costa Championship.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. It's going to be good stuff. All right, everybody. Be safe. That's it. We're out of here.